Hello there, Amy Shade here. So, if you have been doing the work, you've been going to therapy, you've been journaling, you've been doing your embodiment practices, healing those old wounds, learning how to communicate better, uh, then this talk is for you today. Because even after all that growth, even after all this, time and investment, there's this in between space, the part where the old version of yourself is really fighting for you to stay there. And the new version of yourself is still like learning how to walk, right? And it's in that in between state that we begin asking, am I being mean? Am I being selfish? Am I going to lose people in my life if I finally tell the truth? Does this sound familiar? Yes, I experienced it too from, really trying to let go of that old identity and create a new identity, a new way of being. And um, it is a difficult process at times. So let's meet our two characters. Okay. We have the old self over here and the new self over here. The old self is the woman who overgives, over explains, and over functions. She's exhausted. She finds her worth in being the helper, in being the healer, in being the good girl. This person over here, she keeps the peace, even when she's like dying inside. And she'll smile through heartbreak, apologize for having boundaries, and say, it's fine. We all know that one. It's fine when all, her inner voice is like screaming. This old self has learned to operate through her conditioning. And she has come to this place in her life where she's a lot of the time she's exhausted, she's overwhelmed, she's uncertain. And then you have this new self that we've all been working on and cultivating and fostering. She's the one who says, I love you, but that doesn't work for me. She breathes before reacting. She's learning to speak her truth even when her voice shakes, as she's soft and strong, no longer having to be the warrior, the woman who does everything for everybody. And she's not trying to earn her worth anymore. This is an important one because she knows she's already worthy. Now, the old self, as I said, has years of practice. She knows how to navigate, manipulate, and guilt people. She's really good at her life in that position. She might not be happy, but she knows what to expect. Basically, the new self, well, she's still building the muscle. She's still tripping, fumbling, and figuring it out. But here's the thing, we all know the old way doesn't work anymore, which is why we've been investing in ourselves and trying to figure it out. And this is where the transformation really begins, in that knowing, hey, this might be uncertain over here, but I know that for sure this does not work. Now, let me take a pause here because I get it. I mean, no one wants to be considered a harsh woman, a mean person, a selfish person. That's a big thing for women because, you're heart centered. You lead with love and you don't want to hurt anyone. But the truth is, boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. And clarity is love. When you're clear, it's a very loving thing to be clear. And, we've been trained to believe that kindness means self erasure, that being heart centered means being silent, that to be spiritual means to be endlessly accommodating. But I call BS on all of that, okay? Because every time you swallow your truth to keep someone comfortable, you abandon the most sacred relationship you'll ever have. And that's the one with yourself. And if you're like me, you've done that dance before. I spent years saying yes when I meant no, years thinking, if I gave more love, if I just gave more, if I loved harder, if I smiled sweeter, right? People would finally stay and love me. But they didn't, because as we all know, that really doesn't work, right? Because what was I really saying? What was I really saying? And what was I really doing? I was saying, I'll betray myself so you approve of me. Like, you will accept me because I'm betraying myself. I'm not being myself, and then you'll accept me. Well, that's not love. That's survival. And we really want to have these loving connections in our life and not feel like we're fighting for our own survival or fighting for that relationship to work. So let's talk about the sneakiest part around this issue, which is worthiness. Okay, for many of us, our worth used to come from our unworthiness. Think about that for a minute. Our worth used to come from our unworthiness. We were valued because we sacrificed, because we endured, because we made ourselves small enough to fit into someone else's comfort zone. But as you evolve, you realize, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And that's terrifying, because the old identity has rules, and this new one doesn't come with a manual. We have to figure it out ourselves. So yes, you'll second guess yourself. You'll think, yeah, I'm being too much. You'll worry about pushing people away. This is all natural. These are all things that come from in this gray area where you are letting go of the old identity and really fostering a new one. But every time that you honor your truth and the new you, you're parenting the part of you that once believed that love had to be earned, and oftentimes love had to be earned through pain. That's what real healing looks like. It looks like not being perfect. It looks like not being polished, but it's honest, and it comes from your heart. It's just this really heart-centered position of honesty. So let me just tell you a story. I had a friend, an amazing woman, a kind heart, but she kept waiting for her partner to commit, right? She believed this is what it looks like in the old self operating. She believed that if she stayed easygoing and didn't rock that boat, that eventually he would step up. I mean, we've all been in there, right? This is a very, very common situation for women that they're accepting these situationships, thinking that it's going to grow into something else. And I was in a similar situation also, because who hasn't been, right? And there's something about not feeling worthy and someone abandoning you because you're not worthy, and you're putting down a boundary, and you don't want to put that boundary because they're going to leave. They are going to leave. Now, the old self in my story would have not asked for anything because she would have been very afraid that they would leave. And my new self understands that that is not, that's just reinforcing my unworthiness, meaning that it is creating more fear in my life that someone's going to abandon me and I will never find anyone else, right? And so one day I said, I want more from this partnership. I want depth. I want to be in a relationship, a solid relationship. And, if you're not signed up for that, then you're done. And we are done. Not you are done. We are done. And, she was like, aren't you afraid he's going to leave? I'm like, yeah, that's a possibility. But I have to choose me first. I have to choose myself first, my desires, what I want in a committed, loving relationship. Because I'm the most important person in this scenario. And many of us have not stepped into that role of being the most important person in our relationships, and that we must foster ourselves so that we can have happy, loving relationships. And that's a new version of me. That's one of my new versions of me, is that person who speaks up, asks for what they want, and goes balls out. I mean, I don't, my, how I decide in my relationships, whether they leave or not, I know I'm okay. Right? The old one would have been afraid of being alone. My new version is I'm okay by myself. I'm more than okay. I'm very happy. But, you know, men love it when you put down boundaries because they they gravitate towards you. You become magnetic. They really find you very attractive because you are saying, no, this is what I want. All right. So there's one more thing, right? We've been taught to communicate in facts. Okay. And this is also what trips people up from the old self transitioning into the new self, is that we've been often have communication towards us around facts. But as you heal and you become a heart-centered woman and you're going into this new self, the healing asks us to communicate in truth, right? I mean, facts are like flat. The truth is layered, it's nuanced, and it's filled with the heart. A fact says, I don't want to be with you. The truth says, I've spent years abandoning myself and I can't do it anymore. And I want you to really see the difference. One cuts off and the other one really opens up. That's really how heart-centered women like yourself can set boundaries with compassion and not compliance. So as we are going into this new self and we feel like we're going to be harsh with people, it's important to think about this idea of communicating with facts versus communicating with the truth. The truth is very nuanced. It's loving. It's something that has personal insight into your own self. So as we close this our time together, I want you to think about that. Am I really, am I afraid of the way I will be communicating? And if you are, yeah, think about, well, I don't have to say, I don't want to be with you. I can say, I spent years abandoning myself and I just can't do it anymore. I need to choose something different. So if you're in that space, if you're in that in-between space of who you were and who you are becoming, remember, you're not lost. You're becoming visible. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. This is where you get to really figure out how you want to mold your new identity, your new self. This is not about being perfect. Remember that. It's about being true. So keep doing the work. Keep choosing yourself. Keep walking towards the version of you who knows her worth, because you don't need to wait for permission. She's already here, by the way. So I want you to stay radical. I want you to stay real. And remember, your truth is your power. Now, if you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you really like it, then go ahead. This is the kind of stuff that we dive into in our Radical Embodiment membership. And so you can go ahead and look at the comment section and see that there's a link for you to check it out. And again, have a beautiful day, and I'm proud of you, and you are where you're supposed to be. This is a learning moment for everyone at this moment. All right.